For the first time under Bruce Bochy, the Rangers have a losing record. And I think it's time to officially start panicking about this offense. We'll talk about all that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Before we get into today's episode, the Rangers falling below 500, the offense struggling, and yet another starting pitcher possible injury. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brake parts to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Now, the Rangers had been 8-0 when they fell to 500 this year. There have been a lot of times where they fell to an exactly 500 record. You thought, oh, the Rangers haven't been below 500 in the Bruce Bochy era. Maybe this is going to be the time. And it hadn't been. Time and time and time again. But heading into the off day after an absolute stinker of a loss on Sunday to those annoying Angels of Anaheim, of Los Angeles, of California, and heading into Philadelphia against the best left-hander in baseball, when the Rangers have struggled mightily against any left-handed pitcher whatsoever, I thought, oh boy, here we go. This is the one. This is the time where it's going to happen, and I am quite annoyed with myself that I was right. I like being proven wrong when I am the rare pessimist, Bryce, but this was not the case. The Rangers headed into this series against Philadelphia not having lost to the Philadelphia Phillies since opening day of 2014. I talked about that on my crossover with Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies, but I proselytized that the Rangers would lose this one, and unfortunately they did, with yet again another anemic offensive performance. Just 2 runs for this offense, one coming on a home run into the nachos by Corey Seager, one coming on an RBI bloop double by Marcus Semien, a great piece of hitting from him against one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in baseball. The Rangers got 3 extra base hits. They got 9 hits total, but they struck out 13 times and went 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. The only hit was that Marcus Semien bloop RBI double. But other than that, this offense did not do a whole lot of anything. Outside of, well, a multi-hit day for Jonah Heim. He continues to hit lefties pretty well, but him in the 4-hole and Robbie Grossman as your 3-hole hitter. A guy who the Rangers decided to trade away a real thing for. A guy who is supposed to mash against lefties. His numbers indicate that there's a little bit of luck in what he's doing against lefties this year. The bat speed is just non-existent. The slug is just non-existent. And so far this year, he has a .551 OPS. And with the Rangers, it is even lower at .349. An .063 batting average. Oh, you wanted him for his on base? Okay, well, that's .286. There's just not a whole lot going on with Robbie Grossman. That's the guy you're putting in your 3-hole. Sure, because Adolis Garcia was out of the lineup in this one. In the outfield was Derek Hill in right field, called up because the Rangers just needed something to spark this offense. And they thought, well, maybe Derek Hill can do it. And, credit to him. He did well. He did well in this one, getting a couple of hits, reaching base 3 times, also reached on an error in the 9th inning, but a couple of hits and scored one of the 2 Rangers runs. And in the minor leagues this year, he was absolutely fantastic in Round Rock. In spring training, He was absolutely fantastic to the point where I was a little surprised he didn't make the Rangers opening day roster. In 34 games so far in Round Rock on the year, he is hitting .333, .387 on base, slugging .659, a 1,046 OPS with 8 homers, 4 triples, and 10 doubles. 10 doubles. This guy has just been an extra base hit machine, and the Rangers offense is just lifeless right now with runners in scoring position. I mean, this is the thing that they did incredibly well, why they scored so many runs early on this season, even though they weren't slugging a whole lot. But it's been a while since this Rangers offense has done well with runners in scoring position. They were 1 for 10 on Tuesday. This was from Evan Grant's article in the Dallas Morning News. He pointed out that since leaving Oakland 5 games above 500 at 22-17 on May 8th, they are now 9 for 59 with runners in scoring position, a 152 average. That's not great. Before that, they were the best hitting team with runners in scoring position, but runners in scoring position offense is a fickle thing. You're not going to dominate like the Rangers did for the first half of last year for the entire season. It goes in ebbs and flows. That's why you need slug. That's why you need those extra base hits. That's why you need a deep offense, because you're not always going to hit 300 and have an on base of 400 with runners in scoring position for a full year. It's just not going to happen. And so far, the slug has just not been there. And the thing that made this offense so great last year was the offense being incredibly deep, and the offense trusting each other, trusting their approach, trusting that they're not going to do too much with each at-bat, each plate appearance, each pitch. They say, okay, you're not going to throw me something that I like, and you're going to pitch around me, you're going to walk me. I will take that walk, and I will pass the baton on to the next guy who I trust to do the job. I trust to drive in the runner. I trust to put together a good plate appearance and continue to wear down this pitcher and the staff or this bullpen, whatever it is. And we're going to get it done. But the last couple weeks, it has just not felt like that. The offense hasn't been as deep. There's been big slumps from Nathaniel Lowe, from Josh Smith. There's been some slumps from Adolis Garcia. We'll see if he's back in the lineup tomorrow. He missed Sunday's game after that collision with Marcus Semien, but he got an MRI. Everything seemed to be okay, but he wasn't in the lineup in this game. Maybe Derek Hill can provide some kind of spark for this Rangers offense, but Corey Seager, he did extend his on-base streak, but he had 4 strikeouts in this one, including a really ugly one at the end of this game. Just a not great plate appearance by Corey Seager with runners at the corners. It looked like he was trying to hit a game-tying home run on pretty much every pitch, and Jose Alvarado, the birthday boy, got his 9th save of the year and made Corey Seager look bad, look just straight up bad, and that is not something that happens all that often. The Rangers offense could have done a little bit more. I mean, you got to Hoffman with that home run into the nachos by Corey Seager, but they had their opportunities. They did. 10 at-bats with runners in scoring position and 1 hit is just not good enough. 9 runners left on. The offense is getting on base, getting into these spots, but they just weren't able to do diddly squat once they did. And part of me thinks, like, oh, well, it happens, and this team, it will get out of this funk. The thing that's so frustrating is that, yeah, Wyatt Langford's on the shelf. Yeah, we didn't see Adolis Garcia in this game. Yeah, Josh Young being out for this long and continuing to be out for another month or whatever it's going to end up being, that hurts the offense. But this is the lineup. This is who it's going to be. There's not some magic guy waiting to jump into this lineup and make everything better. This kind of is what it is. So these guys just kind of have to figure it out. And it's not looking great at this moment. Offense is down league-wide, but there's plenty of guys that are hitting well enough despite it. I mean, Bryce Harper's been phenomenal all year. Alec Bohm has been one of the best hitters in baseball. I mean, Bryson Stott has been exceptional as well. And I mean, heck, Cody Clemens has got a 1,055 OPS. Now, he went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts in this one. But, I mean, there are guys who are doing the dang thing, who are hitting well. I mean, Shohei Ohtani is, a singular hitter and having an absolutely incredible season, and he's not affected by whatever is making this offense go down league wide. And the best hitters should be able to figure it out. Corey Seager is figuring it out. He did have a home run in this one, despite the golden sombrero. But still, it's just frustrating to see this offense and that was so incredible last year just struggle so mightily. It makes you think, well, maybe some of those seasons were aberrations. Maybe not all this offense is as deep as we thought it was. Maybe Adolis Garcia's season was the flash. Maybe he just was a 3-season hero. Maybe Jonah Heim's all-star year was an aberration. Maybe he's not going to be that. I don't know. I think he is, but maybe he's not. Maybe Nathaniel Lowe's Silver Slugger season was the outlier, and this is just kind of who he is now, a guy who doesn't hit for as much power as he's got raw power in there. I don't think that's the case, but maybe it is. Leody Taveras has been the only one who's been about what you'd expect, and he hasn't been amazing by any means, but Semien and Seager can't do it all alone, and this offense just needs to figure it out. Coming up, talking about the starting pitching, a injury scare with John Gray being the absolute last thing that this Rangers team needs. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the action. It's the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports and the best fantasy sports app out there. You can just pick more or less on your favorite stats. Looking at today's games for MLB, you can go more or less on the hitter fantasy score for Bryce Harper at 8. I might go more because he just had a monster game against the Rangers and he's going up against Dane Dunning. We'll see. Cole Reagan's going up against the Detroit Tigers today, more or less on 6 strikeouts. I would definitely go with more because that Detroit lineup is not great and Cole Reagan's is amazing. Or you can go with Corey Seager, more or less than 7.5 hitter fantasy score. He has been on a roll lately. Maybe after that 4 strikeout game, he did have a homer, extended his on-base streak, so maybe I might lean towards the higher number, the more, against this starting pitcher of Philadelphia today. So pick more, go to PrizePicks, check it out, download the app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, the Rangers offense has been in such a rough way that the Derek Hill call is just some kind of a hope for something to happen with this offense because they have been just so many guys at the back end of this roster, like Andrew Kisner, like we've seen just some rough at-bats from Davis Wenzel. They just have not been able to get much of anything out of the depth options that, to be frank, they didn't expect to have to use this much. I mean, Josh Smith has been an everyday player, and he's been mostly very good. He's been slumping a little bit in the month of May. He was amazing in April, one of the best players in all of baseball, honestly, in April. But we weren't entirely sure how much that was going to line up. They haven't gotten that much offensively from Zeke Duran, a 664 OPS, but it's been better than they've seen from Robbie Grossman. And the defense from Zeke Duran, I have to give a big shout out to him. The value in Zeke Duran is not only that he has got that offensive potential. We haven't seen the slug much yet this year, just a couple of doubles for him and no home runs in 93 plate appearances, which is kind of weird, especially with Zeke Duran having that much raw power, that kind of bat speed, that kind of wrist strength. But the defense from Zeke Duran, the overall toolsiness, I think gets overlooked because he has been moved to a platoon player. I think that he is a first division starting caliber shortstop. If some other team didn't have a Corey Seager as their everyday shortstop or a Josh Smith that's been phenomenal this year, then maybe Zeke Duran is starting every day at shortstop or third base. But the Rangers need him as the go wherever we need you on the day kind of player, and his outfield arm is just massive. That's why I really liked him playing third base a lot last year, because he's got an absolute bazooka. It feels like an understatement. Heat-seeking ICBM feels like about the right level of explosiveness in that arm. I mean, the Rangers can go with an outfield assuming that Adolis Garcia is healthy, of Zeke Duran in left, Leote in center, and Adolis in right. Those are three of the best arms in all of baseball, and we saw it last night with Zeke Duran uncorking a massive throw at 98.7 miles an hour for an outfield assist on the money that was in a huge spot. This Rangers team was keeping it close, and it was right after what was hopefully going to be a strike him out, throw him out double play, caught stealing, but challenge overturned, and the Rangers were in a tough spot with allowing a hit with a runner in scoring position. But Zeke Duran said, "Don't worry, John Gray. I got you. We're not going to make this a 3-1 game just yet. That will happen later on." And there wasn't anything that Zeke Duran could do about it. He also had another great play that he made on a ball in the gap. Ended up being a sac fly, but just getting to that ball, seeing his speed out there in the outfield. I mean, he hasn't played that much in the outfield in his entire career, but he is just so athletic and so toolsy and so versatile that it has been so helpful for this Rangers team. Now, if he could find that slugging, then that would be great. But to get Derek Hill on this roster, on the 40-man roster, the Rangers had to move Austin Pruitt to the 60-day IL. I was worried that it was going to be, it seemed like that was the only option, or moving Cody Bradford to the 60-day IL. Those were really the only ways that I saw the Rangers opening up a 40-man spot for a Derek Hill. Or they could just cut bait with Andrew Knizner and call up a different catcher, because at this point Knizner was not supposed to be some amazing offensive hitter, but there was supposed to be some kind of offense there. I mean, he had 10 home runs last year, slugged .424, a .712 OPS was fairly respectable. Granted, it was an OPS plus that was below league average at 92, but still, there was supposed to be some offense in there. 70 games, 241 plate appearances. That's not a minuscule sample size, but offensively, he's just been absolutely atrocious for the Rangers this year. I mean, when you have a batting average, an on base, and a slugging percentage all below 200, that's just not good enough to keep a major league roster spot, unless you're literally Austin Hedges behind the dish, which, no offense to Andrew Knizner, but he's not that. And the Rangers aren't paying him some massive amount. He's got a negative .5 baseball reference score, and he's only played in 18 games, 42 plate appearances. He's just been awful for the Rangers. And at this point, I think the Rangers have to seriously consider cutting bait, because there are two guys that are catchers in Round Rock right now that I think are big offensive upgrades over him. You've got Sam Huff, who hasn't been absolutely amazing in Round Rock so far, but he's had success as a hitter in his major league career. He's had success hitting against 95-mile-an-hour plus pitches, which this offense has struggled against velocity and struggled against lefties. Right now, Sam Huff's got a .877 OPS and 136 plate appearances in AAA this year. And Andrew Knapp, who had a fantastic spring as a non-roster invitee for the Rangers, has been exceptional offensively in AAA Round Rock as a 32-year-old catcher who's been around the big leagues for quite a while. He's got 144 plate appearances under his belt right now, and in AAA he is hitting .370 with an on-base of .451 and slugging .580, a 1,031 OPS. The guy has been fantastic offensively. Now, does that mean that he's going to come up and be amazing and save this Rangers offense? Absolutely not. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, the last time that he played in the big leagues, it's been a minute. Not that long of a minute, but it's been since 2022. I mean, in the majors, he's got 6 seasons under his belt and a .623 OPS as a big leaguer. Only 13 home runs and 873 plate appearances. So it's not like he's been absolutely phenomenal and you think he's going to come in and save, but he's just going to be more valuable defensively than Knizner. Or Sam Huff, who still has some options this year and has had success as a big league hitter. I mean, you just got to do something at this point. I don't think Jonah Heim's going to lose his job as a starter. I really don't. Also, some of you may be thinking, well, Jose Barrera was a guy that the Rangers took a flyer on. Maybe he can come in and provide some offense. Well, his 15 games in AAA to this point have not really given a whole lot of hope. He's hitting under 200, on base of 250, slugging just .339, 27 strikeouts and 64 plate appearances. That's when the gap between AAA and the big leagues is as big as it's been in the past 15 years that I've been obsessed with baseball, I don't think that that's going to necessarily fix things. But calling up Huff or Knapp and cutting bait on Kisner, I think that's something the Rangers are seriously considering. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, but when you need to give Jonah Heim some more days off to keep him fresh for the duration of the season, and his offense hasn't been incredible, and you are still keeping him fresh, you are using him for DH days when he's not catching, because the depth of your lineup, the guys you can call up off the bench to be DHs on his off days are not upgrades. It's something the Rangers, I think, will need to consider. Coming up, we'll talk about the Jon Gray leaving early, why I'm not totally panicking just yet, and some worries with the B side of this bullpen being kind of stinky as of late. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and to level up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Now, the last thing on earth that this Texas Rangers team needs right now is another injury, to the starting rotation. And I had a scary moment last night when Jon Gray left after just 75 pitches with what they called, quote, a little groin tightness, end quote. You thought, oh my God, not Jon Gray, not another one, not another starting pitching injury. The Rangers have 6 starting pitchers on the IL at this point until Dane Dunning gets activated at some point today. Thank God he is coming back right now because the Rangers desperately need it. But until he gets called up, the Rangers have 4 starting pitchers in the rotation. That is including Jon Gray at this moment on the active roster. And if Jon Gray has to miss some time, then they're down to 3. You bring back Dane Dunning, that's 4. Thinking this weekend that it will be Nathan Eovaldi's time to get activated off the IL. That would give you 5 if Jon Gray goes on the IL, and that would continue to keep Jose Urena in the starting rotation. But Jon Gray said, no, don't worry. It's just a little groin tightness. He said he'll get an MRI today, but he said he was confident last night that he will not miss a start. Really just need that to be the case. Just absolutely necessity that has to be the case, because this team just cannot suffer another starting pitcher injury, because like I said, there are currently 6 guys in this that would be starters on the IL. 2 of them are hopefully coming back this week, which means that you can move Jose Urena back to the long man in the pen. You can send somebody from the B side of this bullpen down to the minors, get some more reliable options in your bullpen that can actually get major league outs without giving up lots of runs, because the B side of this bullpen, after starting off impressive, has lost some injuries and lost some effectiveness from some guys, including Cole Winn, who had a massive 5-game stretch in April that was just so important to this team. Coming up, being a B-side option, keeping the Rangers in these games, mostly pitching when the Rangers were losing, gave them a chance to fight back in some of these games, gave them a chance to just eat some innings so that the top guys in this bullpen didn't have to pitch more than they needed to. His first 5 games of his major league career, he did not allow a single hit in 7 innings of work, 7 strikeouts, just 1 walk. He was awesome, and it was great, and we felt good. We said, hey, look at Cole Winn, look at this found money on the B side of this bullpen. Maybe he can give you something. And he did. And then the game at Kansas City, where he just got absolutely rocked. That 1/3 of an inning where he allowed 4 hits, 4 runs, all of which were earned, and just has not been the same since then. He's only had one outing where he did not allow any runs in the month of May. He's had 6 outings. One of them was scoreless. That was 1 inning in Oakland in a game that I believe the Rangers won. But since then, he's allowed at least 1 run in every outing. A couple of runs in this one that kind of kept this game out of reach. It would have been just a 3-2 game in that 9th inning when Corey Seager came up with runners at the corners and a chance to drive in the tying run with just a single, but that was not the case. That was not how the game ended. Maybe it would have ended the exact same way, but the Rangers also gave up a run from Jake Latz. He went an inning and 2/3, Jacob Latz, an inning and 2/3, 3 strikeouts for him, but the 1 run was on a dinger from, Bryce Harper, and you kind of shrug your shoulders and say, well, that'll happen. But, I mean, the Rangers have basically 2 effective bullpen options at this point, and the rest is, I don't know. And if you start to add more starters back to this rotation, then some guys will go into the bullpen. I have no idea when Cody Bradford is going to come back off the IL. He was slowed down. There has been some kind of progress for Max Scherzer, but I have no idea when he's going to come back. Heck, I don't know if Tyler Mahle is going to come back off the IL before Scherzer and Cody Bradford. I still think that we'll see him at his scheduled July target date, Mahle, that is. But I just have no idea what to make of what's happening with Cody Bradford or Max Scherzer. And I'm hoping that both of those guys are off the IL by the time that Jacob deGrom comes back, and I'm hoping that deGrom comes back in August, and then you can start to have some tough questions. If Heaney is still being pretty good as a starter, he had a rough last start out, he had a rough first couple of starts, but in between there, when the Rangers really needed him, he stepped up. Lorenzen has been really solid for this Rangers team so far. Dunning has had some good outings. Nate Eovaldi is definitely going to be in the starting rotation. And if Cody Bradford if everybody's healthy, then maybe Cody Bradford slots into this pen. I don't know. But right now, having to trust a lot of key innings from Jacob Latz hasn't been as solid as of late. Having to trust guys like Yuri Rodriguez and Cole Winn and John Hernandez and Grant Anderson, it's just not a great place to be. But the Rangers don't have any other options at this point. There could have been an Anthony Hoopy, Tuio, and Natoa, but I've beaten that dead horse quite thoroughly, so I think we all know how I feel about that. But I did want to get some good news, some key happy thing that happened last night. Marcus Semien reached 10 years of big league service time in his career. Congratulations to Marcus Semien. Made his major league debut back in 2013 with the White Sox, then was traded to Oakland, played there in 2015, turned into one of the better players in baseball in 2019, figured out how to be an amazing defender, an amazing Iron Man, an amazing all-around player, had that career year, bet on himself in 2021 in Toronto, signed a massive deal with the Rangers, helped them win their first ever World Series, has had 3 different top 3 MVP finishes, heck, more top 3 MVP finishes than All-Star appearances, because no one was paying attention to what he was doing in the first half of 2019 and really cooked in the second half. But it's a big milestone. It is a big moment for him of just saying, wow, look at this thing that I've done. Maybe, I don't think he'll have 20 seasons. I don't think he's going to keep playing every day till he's 43. He might, because this guy is an absolute Iron Man. But it is a huge accomplishment. There's a reason that I mentioned Jacob deGrom hitting 10 years of Major League service time, even though he was on the IL and has been on the IL for most of his Rangers tenure. It's a big moment for these guys, and it means a lot to them, and it is a sign of respect. There's a reason why these guys get big gifts, why the Rangers tweeted it out and made a big deal of it promotionally, because not a lot of guys get to 10 years of big league service time. It is a difficult thing to do, and Marcus Semien doing it, I think he's absolutely going to get to 15 years of big league service time. He's got, I think he'll have 14 years by the end of his contract. He'll be like right on the cusp of 15 years. That'll be his age 37 season, I think. So that he'll hit 15 years. 2029 would be that year. But congratulations to Marcus Semien, a big moment for him. But just looking at the big picture, this Rangers team being below 500, it's frustrating. And someone asked me if the Rangers, are the Rangers going to be sellers at the deadline? I think that's a bit premature to start looking at that. I mean, they are 2-8 in their last 10. So this is not just a short slump. This has been a prolonged slump since they went above 500. Since that series where I felt really good about things in Oakland, despite that weird ending, the Rangers still won 3 out of 4 in Oakland. They won 2 out of 3 in Kansas City. There was a stretch where they won 5 straight series, and since then it has been at the absolute crapper. And it's not like it's going to get that much better. It's not like the schedule is that much easier. They got these 3 games against the Phillies where 2 of the 3 starting pitchers that you're facing are guys who could be considered the best pitcher in baseball. You got Wheeler on Thursday against Heaney, so you're really hoping that you win this Wednesday game with Dane Dunning versus Taijuan Walker. And then what do? You head into Minnesota, who has been on a little bit of a cold stretch since that massive 11-game winning streak. So you're hoping that you can take some games there, but after that you got the D-backs. Then you've got some games against the Marlins, and June is not going to be that much easier. You got a big stretch where you're facing a lot of great teams: Dodgers, Mariners, Royals, Brewers, Orioles. It's not getting that much easier in the short term. So the Rangers need to turn things around. I think it'd take a lot for them to be sellers at the deadline. Like, if they keep this up for another 10 games of going 2-8, maybe they consider it, but I don't see a likely scenario where the Rangers punt it off at the deadline. I mean, maybe if you're really, really convinced you're out of it, then maybe you think about trading Kirby Yates or David Robertson. I don't see this team doing that, though. I mean, the Rangers have dynasty in mind. They said that championship was great. It was fun. We loved it. We're going to do it again. We are going to win year in, year out. We are going to have streaks of staying in the playoffs and going deep into the playoffs. They see what the Astros did of making the ALCS for however many legitimate straight years, and then several years after that. And they've made the ALCS for 7 straight years? And some of those they've done while being on the up and up. But that's still an impressive streak, and the Rangers want to do things like that. And so selling off at the deadline, when they've got these guys that will be coming off the injured list, presumably, after the deadline, getting this offense hopefully back up to full speed. Maybe this team just can't win without Josh Young. We saw it for that 6-week stretch last year. We've seen it for a long stretch this year. Maybe Josh Young coming back will be the magic pill that fixes everything. Maybe Wyatt Langford coming back with the magic pill that fixes everything. He is in Arizona, facing some actual pitching. We'll see when he ends up coming back. Maybe it will be before June. Maybe it won't be. I don't know. This Rangers team is in a rough way right now. They really need a win in this one game against Philadelphia. But even if they get swept, it's not the end of the world. But it may just start to feel like that for Rangers fans. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.